Avoid these conversations, they drain your energy. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every word deserves a response. And not every conversation should be entertained. We live in a time where people talk constantly but say very little. Words fill the air, the screens, the silence, yet peace feels more and more distant. The truth is, it's not always the loudest chaos that drains your energy, it's the subtle, everyday conversations that wear you down. They distract you, consume your focus, and pull you away from what truly matters. Stoic philosophy teaches us to be deliberate with our attention, to protect our inner world the way a warrior protects a fortress. One of the most overlooked ways to do this is by being extremely selective with the conversations we engage in. In this video, we'll explore the types of conversations that drain your energy, and why a Stoic, someone committed to inner mastery and mental clarity, must learn to walk away from them. Let's begin with one of the most common. The first kind of conversation you should avoid is the one rooted in gossip. Small talk can be harmless, but gossip is something else entirely. It's the habit of discussing the flaws, failures, and personal business of others, especially when they're not present. It gives a false sense of superiority, a temporary rush of significance, but it comes at a hidden cost. When you gossip, you pollute your mind. You start focusing more on other people's lives than your own. You replace discipline with distraction, and dignity with judgment. You sacrifice your peace for a moment of petty entertainment. And even worse, when you participate in gossip, you unconsciously tell yourself that your time and energy are better spent on others' drama than your own growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That begins with refusing to speak ill of others, especially when they're not around to defend themselves. A Stoic doesn't tear down. A Stoic builds. If a conversation doesn't elevate your character, sharpen your mind, or bring you closer to virtue, it's not worth your words. The second type of conversation to avoid is the pointless argument. Not every disagreement needs to be resolved. Not every opinion needs to be defended. But in today's culture, we've mistaken reacting for strength. We feel the need to correct, to win, to be right. But Stoics knew better. Seneca warned that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. And often, the wisest response is no response at all. Pointless arguments usually stem from ego. They begin when someone says something provocative, misinformed, or disrespectful, and your pride feels attacked. You want to clap back. You want to prove a point. But ask yourself, even if you win, what do you gain? You might silence someone temporarily. But at what cost? Your energy, your peace, your time? The Stoic way is not to surrender your emotions to others. It is to hold steady in the face of insult, to observe without reacting, and to choose silence when silence holds more power than words. Walk away from arguments that serve no purpose, especially online, where faceless debates breed more division than understanding. Instead, live your truth quietly. Let your actions argue for you. The third kind of conversation to avoid is the complaint spiral. You know it when you hear it. Someone begins venting about their day, the traffic, the weather, their coworker, their life. At first, it seems harmless. But then another person joins in, and another, and before long, the entire room is a cloud of negativity. This is emotional contagion in action. We become what we're around. If you consistently surround yourself with complainers, your own outlook becomes darker. You start looking for what's wrong instead of what's right. You feel drained, even if you didn't say a word. Now, this doesn't mean you should be insensitive or avoid people who are struggling. Compassion is important. Listening matters. But there's a difference between supporting someone through difficulty and enabling chronic negativity. A Stoic listens with empathy, but does not absorb what doesn't belong to them. A Stoic doesn't feed the flame, they calm it. And if the fire cannot be calmed, they step away before it burns through their peace. Your energy is sacred. Don't let it be siphoned by conversations that revolve around constant complaints and no solutions. Another draining conversation is the one built on shallow performance. You've likely had this experience. Small talk that never leads anywhere. Words exchanged simply to fill the silence, to avoid awkwardness, to pretend connection where none exists. It's the "How are you?" that doesn't wait for an answer. The forced laughter. The social rituals that feel more like obligation than presence. Stoicism values depth over noise. Not every conversation has to be profound, but it should be real, authentic, present. When you spend too much time in shallow waters, you forget how to dive deep. You lose the hunger for meaningful connection. You numb yourself to the richness of thoughtful dialogue. So be intentional. If a conversation lacks presence, if it doesn't offer truth, curiosity, or honesty, allow it to pass. Not with disrespect, but with discernment. Silence, in the Stoic worldview, is not awkward. It's a return to clarity. Next, avoid conversations rooted in constant validation seeking. This one can be difficult to notice, but it's everywhere. You'll hear someone fish for compliments, drop achievements in casual talk, or turn every story into a way to be admired. At first, it seems innocent, but over time, it becomes exhausting. Because these conversations are not about exchange, they're about extraction. The other person isn't speaking with you. They're performing for you. They want praise, reassurance, admiration, and they keep asking for it over and over again. Now, we all need affirmation from time to time. That's human. But Stoicism teaches self-validation. It teaches us to ground our worth in virtue, not applause. When someone constantly needs validation, it reveals an inner void, and if you keep feeding it, you risk creating your own. You start measuring your words for approval. You begin shrinking or inflating yourself to match their emotional need. It's draining, it's unbalanced, and it's not your responsibility. Offer kindness, yes, but don't carry someone's entire sense of self-worth on your back. A Stoic gives encouragement when it's earned, and silence when it's needed. Lastly, be wary of speculative or fear-driven conversations. These are the endless "what if" discussions, the doom cycles. The ones that obsess over things that haven't happened and may never happen. What if the economy collapses? What if the worst-case scenario unfolds? What if this or that? It's not that concern is wrong. Prudence is a virtue, but obsession is a prison. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. These conversations keep you living in a future that doesn't exist. They heighten anxiety, drain optimism, and trap you in paralysis. You spend more time imagining disasters than building resilience. The Stoic answer is this: prepare wisely, but do not panic. Think clearly, but do not ruminate. Speak about solutions, not speculation. Avoid conversations that spiral into fear without action. They're black holes of energy. A calm mind is not naive, it is powerful. It sees the dangers of the world, but it chooses not to be ruled by them. That's what Stoicism is about. So what can we do? We can be conscious. We can choose our words the way we choose our meals, with care, with intention, with awareness of how they affect us. We can also choose silence, not as avoidance, but as a statement, a boundary, a reminder that our energy is limited, and we refuse to waste it on what weakens us. Not all silence is empty. Sometimes, it is full of strength. Avoid gossip. Avoid meaningless arguments. Avoid complaint spirals. Avoid shallow performances. Avoid conversations built only for validation. Avoid speculative fear loops. You don't need to explain. You don't need to defend. Just quietly step back. A Stoic does not argue for peace, they live it. They are not loud. They are steady. And their strength comes not from how much they say, but from how little they let others disturb their stillness. So protect your energy. Speak with intention. And when necessary, say nothing at all. That silence? It's not emptiness. It's power.